Hello. First, I want to apologize because I speak no German, but I will. I hope. I have a big project ahead of me here in Austria, as Andreas, I imagine you described. I was invited by Andreas Ruby and the House of Architecture to photograph the book that will commemorate the prize of architecture, and thank you for the invitation. I have some ideas about how I may approach the project, but I haven't seen what is there yet. We are tomorrow and the day after we will be looking at buildings. So I thought that for this presentation I can show you some approaches I've taken to things that have to do with architecture. I'm not necessarily an architecture photographer. I think if there's one thing that ties my work all together, it has to do with, I suppose, it's quality of life and personal geographies of sorts. But I'll show you some of the things that I've done, and I think somewhere around that area is how the book will land. So I will start with a project I shot on commission by an architecture firm from Los Angeles, Johnston Markley. Real quick, they were invited to build a house that was to replace a project built in the early 80s by Thomas Maine that had burnt. And the house that Thomas Maine built, it's known as the 2468 house, and it's a house that follows very exact rules to corral his idea for the structure, and there are many, and some of the ones that trickled to Johnston Markley, the architects, was the way in which Thomas Maine increased the space in additions of two, so the windows grow in doubling the space, and the colors are primary colors. And when Johnston Markley did their part, they reversed some of the things, like the exterior of the house, instead of being a primary color, now it's an 18% gray, and they brought the primary colors to the inside. And when I was invited to see the house, I was confused about how one would live in this place, and I decided to cast a group of people who I kind of presumed that they didn't live in a house like what is now the 2468 house, and I brought them in to just explore the house and bounce back against. I was bouncing ideas just off of their reactions, and I tried to apply some of the rules of 2468 that started with Thomas Maine and then Johnston Markley and then came to me and then to these people, and then it just kind of went in different directions. So these are some of the photographs, and it's kind of the idea of the people following rules that or guidelines that architects set, and how that would carry over into everyday life. Okay, so that was 2468. This other project is a house in Mexico. I think I see. They look stretchier. And I was commissioned by a company to photograph contemporary Mexicans, and I'm from Mexico, and I mean just the idea itself just seems so abstract. And there's an architect in Mexico who Agustín Hernández, and he's from the 70s. He's still alive and working and doing incredible projects. But his houses are have always been very futuristic. It's almost like a Frank Gehry in a sense, like a Mexican Frank Gehry, but before Frank Gehry. And I found out that I could rent a house he built for his sister in the 70s, and the idea of this kind of Mexican soap opera family that has nothing to do with the intention of the architect just taking over, which is in fact what happened. Now the house belongs to his sister's kids, and it's decorated kind of country, but like American country. But it's just kind of a play on projections, on modernism, and what people do what regular people do once they take over a space, and just the idea of how people kind of care for a house like one would, like a pet, like you clean it and you paint it, you dress it. So just things about the use of space and grooming a house like you would a poodle by landscaping.